that's where the meta seems to be shifting towards. Now, you can still look at some of these more crit-orientated champions like the Jhin coming in and that Gale Force build, but that's certainly more so because, again, he spikes very well off of this one item, but he is more about that long-range engage and playing more of a utility style of AD carry.
We'll have to wait and see now if either team decides to go with your meta or not. We did see Team WE going with a Sejuani yesterday, which was relatively successful. We'll see how it works against higher caliber opponents. But into the first bans, you can see the teams taking their pretty decent time with this. The Zoe, the Renekton, the Camille, the Taliyah, these early game kind of, blow you up kind of champions being taken off the board.
I'm curious to see what Meteor decides to go with in the jungle here. So BLG already banning away the Taliyah, but Meteor traditionally has gone more towards the sets, the Trundles, the duelists, and this style of jungling, rather more so the farm orientated style. So I want to see as we come into this if Meteor does tend more towards the Graves and this kind of thing, which he can do well on, and how BLG as a whole reacts to that shift away from, oh well, I'm actually playing towards the jungle rather than the jungler playing towards me.
I have to talk about jungles as well, because Meteor, like back in 2019, was considered a top 2, bare at minimum top 3 jungler within the league. Last year, a lot of hype coming in around him, and he just very public and known drama within himself and a couple of player on his team last year, but he just didn't really show it. I feel like he needs to be the one to kind of really come back and say, no, I'm still a top tier jungler.
Well, this is a perfect pick for Meteor. The Olaf still fits into that dueling fighting style that we were talking about, but actually has a brilliant matchup against the Graves as well, thanks to that Gourd Drinker spike and the ability to catch and even just farm as fast as this Graves. So at least Meteor does find some comfort here. Surprised by the early Gragas pick. I'm imagining that's going towards BuBu in the top side of the map. A strong weak side top laner, which fits BuBu style perfectly, but also does offer at least some engage or disengage with that cask.
So still waiting now for a support and AD carry lineup for both sides. Very rare that we actually see this coming in. We see from the previous games that generally speaking, you want to pick up your AD carry in the first rotation of picks because it can just get focused out as we see the Kai'Sa locked in. So you imagine BLG right now are just going to focus bans into that bot side.
Yeah, I imagine so. I'd love to see the Jhin and the Misfortune ban, because specifically when I look at eStars, this is already setting up for a very strong front-to-back team fighting style where you've got the Ornn front line. Anything that can come over the back line with like the bullet time or even the curtain call would sync so well with what they've done here. So just removing some of these options off the board and even kicking it down a tier when it comes towards AD carries could work very well here for BLG.
Looking at eStars, you can see they've already picked up a Syndra, very safe mid lane pick, very easy to kind of, go into most matchups blind, not going to really have a problem there. Hacker and ZS going with the Ornn and Graves. It's pretty much, for the moment, seems pretty obvious that it's going to be, Hacker farming up with the engage coming in later for the team fights from the Ornn. We'll see what they go with the support and AD carry go first, but so far it's looking pretty bog standard for eStars.
Yeah, I think eStar here will still go with the Misfortune bot lane. It punishes very well against the likes of the Kai'Sa, and one of the big issues that Kai'Sa has against the likes of Misfortune is with the amount of poke that can come through, it can be very difficult for you to survive in the lane phase. You can't really answer back. You don't want to go for like something like an early boots and pots, or even, longsword and double pot start, because that means that then you don't get your evolution towards that Q evolve. So it all ends up a little bit messy for Kai'Sa into that lane, but we'll have to see. I mean, Misfortune just hasn't really risen up when it comes to the LPL so far as one of those dominant laners.
We're actually seeing going with the Twisted Fate here, so leaving their support pick. Potentially could see a Gragas flex into it. I have seen it before. Not likely, but definitely a possibility. But we could see a Galio support perhaps going into this bot lane. You just go with kind of 2.5 globals with the Twisted Fate Galio and the Kai'Sa.
I agree. I think it's just very difficult then to get the ball rolling here if I'm BLG, because if I've got the Gragas in the top lane, I don't really care if he gets fed. I mean, maybe you can go for the Night Harvester build, which we have seen from those Gragas top lanes, and play a bit of an AP threat, but I prefer seeing the Twisted Fate paired with the likes of, I know Camille's banned, but these more carry-orientated top lanes. So I'd nearly actually turn and swap that Gragas into a support role, and then see if you can pick up more of a carry role for BuBu in the top lane. But it doesn't look like they're going to decide to go with that. Instead, they're going to pair the Twisted Fate with this heavy, strong support in the bot lane. I might go for play more bot-orientated. But actually, no, it looks like there we go.
You called it.
Yeah.
You do 5D chest yourself.
So look, this is what I wanted to see. It gives them a much more stable carry in the top lane that they can play with this Twisted Fate, and now you've still got the Gragas who can go for the more disengaged style in the bot lane. So Zika has multitudes of different options that he can play with here, and this is where you start to see BLG will be able to swap into this 1-4 option where now you've got Zika who can play that engage tool for the team, and having Biu follow up on the Zika teleport in. On the option side for eStar, as we called already, very strong front to back team fighting style. I'm surprised to see the Xayah, to be honest. Xayah is a champion that needs kind of 3 items to get going, and you're not really getting the opportunity to go towards those 3-4 item spikes with these crit AD carries. I would have preferred to see the Misfortune, even if we saw like the Gale Force, the press the attack builds yesterday, but look, I mean, at least now you've still got uber scaling coming through on this squad, and they'll be looking to play towards that late game where they can take over with Ornn items, with that crit AD carry, and even the Syndra as well.
Yeah, we mentioned it very briefly about how we don't really see those massive crit scaling AD carries, and it's kind of down to 2 reasons. Of the early game spikes are so critical, it takes them a very long time to kind of get their items and to get their levels going so that they're actually at a point where they can start shredding health bars. But also as well as that, average game time is roughly around 28 minutes, so the games aren't going to that 35, 36 minute mark where you would have 4.5 items into what would be perceived as a late game.
Yeah, exactly. And like, that's the thing, is that you need the 60% crit for the Infinity Edge. So oftentimes we're seeing the Xayah go with the Gale Force, the Essence Reaver, the Infinity Edge to get towards that 60% crit chance, but it does mean that you're kind of and then a Zeal item, but it does mean that you're kind of falling behind to a certain extent when it comes towards damage output. And that's where my big worry here is. You're heavily reliant on this Xayah in the early stages because your attack speed is so delayed on getting like a lot of feathers down and getting the feather damage off. But in a teamfight scenario like this, where you have Zika who's delivering himself on one flank, where you've got Biu who's probably coming in from another direction, it can be very difficult as this Xayah to position those feathers correctly. And same when I look at the likes of the Syndra, to manage your crowd control, manage all the different moving parts of BLG, and finding that front to back style of teamfight that eStars are looking for.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on to the riff for game 1 of today. Double Spellbook is the one thing that pops out for me for BLG. And realistically, kind of standard all around everywhere else. So overall, we're going to see a lot of utility used in that solo lane up topside.
Yeah, I mean, this is a matchup that is perfectly fine for the Kennen. He's just going to be able to farm it up, to get some poke damage onto ZS. The big thing that he needs to worry about is that level 6, especially if Hacker's going to be making up there. But already BLG going for this late invade with the Olaf.
I like this a lot, just forcing everybody. You can actually see there that they're actually giving free time to Biu up on top side, as ZS just was there. He was ready to go, kind of waiting for this kind of full 4-man invade, wanted to try and counter it, but no one goes down, no one gets anything. There's a little bit of vision, a little bit of delayed. It's not really going to hurt the Olaf that much. It does help Biu set up a nice wave, though.
Yeah, Biu is going to be perfectly fine here. We'll hit the level 2 first and can continue to bully the Ornn. The big thing for Biu in this top side is avoiding the all-in from the Ornn. As long as you don't get caught in any of that CC, you're going to be perfectly fine as this Kennen. I'm actually looking at this mid lane matchup a lot more, because when I look at Irma versus Zika, like, this Syndra has such a good time against this Twisted Fate. She's able to play very aggressive, oftentimes ends up forcing the Twisted Fate to go for early backs, which he doesn't really want to. And the problem here is that, like, you against something like Syndra for Twisted Fate, you need to go towards like early Merc threads and stuff, which means you're delaying that rocket belt so significantly. So from the side of Zika, he's going to take a little bit longer to really come online and get that rocket belt where he can actually be a damaged threat when he goes towards these side lanes, rather than just a CC boss.
We're going to have a pretty standard early game, nothing really too untoward, I suppose, coming in early on. Zika gets a decent amount of poke down onto Irma, but I wanted to ask you, we mentioned briefly what success was for different rosters, how it's very different, what success is for top esports is very different for someone like eStars. What would you see as a success in Spring 2021 for both of these teams?
I mean, for BLG, you have to be looking at playoffs, right? I mean, when you take Zika coming over from Beachy, who's now Rare Adam, they nearly made it into playoffs. You're bringing Aiming over from the LCK. You're bringing Coach Kim from SKT. Like, these guys need to be hitting the playoffs if they want to get to where they're going. Plus, okay, Hacker just getting out of there.
He's fine. He's fine.
Yeah, but honestly, for
I agree.
BLG,
Yeah.
they need to be hitting playoffs if they want to be making use of the money that has been invested into this squad. Over on eStar's side, it's about development. I mean, eStars has always been the kind of developmental roster. Now, they came out of the gates roaring, as we said, in spring 2020, but certainly getting themselves comfortable, trying to figure out, like, are we playing Irma? Are we playing Insulator? What's the story with their bot lane? Like, trying to develop the shot calling and early game of this team, I think, is the big call for eStars right now.
Again, nothing too crazy going to be probably happening in the early game, so I want to see now, where do these junglers go? We talked about how Hacker and Meteor were kind of definitely going to be key towards these early games, but both, you know, Olaf and Graves are very happy to keep farming. I imagine we won't really see anyone go crazy until they either decide to go for the same objective or they just trade it and we don't see anything for about 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, and traditionally BLG has been a very slow team. Like, when we look at the pace of their games from 2020, it's not like they're coming out of the gates like, okay, cool, we're gonna 4-man dive bot, we're gonna 3-man play on the bot side, or like even go for these early dives top. It's all been like very slow and steady. Meteor has always been an objective-focused jungler. So more so what they're going to be looking to do is, hey, you know what? Cloud Dragon is up. Have we got pressure bot side? Cool. As this Olaf, I can solo it out. Like, that's the style of jungle that Meteor plays. But he will need to change that up if he wants to try and work a little bit with Zika when he hits this level 6 in a minute's time.
Yeah, and looking back towards BLG back in 2019, I know it's a far and away memory at this stage, but they were considered the LCK team in LPL. They were the team that were considered very slow, calm, calculated. Of course, that was back when they had Kingen on the top side as well, but these are the kind of things that we kind of are wondering, the big questions that we mentioned earlier in the show, that how is this, you know, BLG lineup going to work out? As I say that though, bot lane forcing the flash out of Rat, and the Ignite does go down as well. So overall, good start here for the BLG bot lane.
Yeah, I think as well, this is actually a pretty decent start from BLG. So one of the big things obviously is that bot lane getting this push here, so we'll get the reset on the wave. Right as mid lane as well, Zika's just TP'd back to lane. He is first shove in mid. So expect Zika, as you can see right now, just hit the level 6. He's already starting to set up all this vision control on this bottom side jungle so he can make this play on bottom side. So I'm expecting a lot of action from BLG tailored towards this bottom side.
And like you said, you know, with the extra pressure, you got Meteor being able to solo out this dragon, being able to pick up a small objective. And those are the small little things that you wanted to see coming out from this BLG lineup, of just getting an advantage, moving forward. Plus with that ward, thank you very much, observers, showing them that there was no Graves in sight. So smart macro here coming out from BLG right now.
Yeah, unfortunately though, with the backs from BLG, they haven't quite been able to use that little bit of a tempo advantage Zika had in mid, so he'll be waiting a little bit longer before he goes for these plays, but you can see eStar trying to react to this. Already, Irma's moved out of lane, he's cleared out the vision control, the pink ward that BLG had on that top side, so nullifying these roam potentials that Zika has and catching people unaware, especially as you can see ZS here, he's pushed pretty heavily under the tower, so even Hacker's up here kind of going, alright, we're going to make sure you can get this away from the danger zone that you're in right now.
Oh, Bubu flashing away, realized that he was in between a rock and an Ornn, and that is not a place you want to be, generally speaking. Zika with his fancy feet trying to just dodge away, will probably have to use his own flash. The flay comes in, the hook goes a million miles away. Zika taking down though, and he will fall. First blood. Chelsea missed the hook, but had the Ignite.
And this is classic eStar. This is what we were talking about, was not having Shousey anchored towards that bottom lane. If he's able to get out, he will make plays towards this mid. Now, tries to predict the flash with that hook. Looked a little bit funky because instead Zika just tried to sidestep it. But it does mean that without the flash, he ends up burning down to the Ignite. So great start here for eStar.
Yeah, getting first blood, getting the, you know, some momentum. Unfortunate that it does go over to Shousey. You would probably pretty much want it on anybody else, realistically, on the side of eStars. But a kill's a kill, and you will take that no problem whatsoever. And right now, you can actually kind of see the little bit of a difference between the bot lane and the top lane. The Kennen getting about a 15 CS lead. There's about a 20 CS lead in the bot lane for aiming. This is kind of, those little small plays against Zika are where you're going to try and find your advantages, because if the Syndra is at a point of one-shotting your carries, then those CS differentials don't mean anything.
Yeah, but the nice thing here for eStars is that they've controlled this mid lane. So the fact that Zika used his TP but wasn't able to get that tempo reset advantage to get the ults off is beautiful for eStar. As well now as they were able to get that kill, which gave Irma another time to back, so he's not losing out on time. He's able to clear this mid wave again. As much as all that eStar are trying to do here is make sure that Zika stays in this mid, But the problem is that if they're putting all their focus on towards, hey, let's keep Zika in check so he can't get ahead, well, the lanes are already getting ahead, so they're already having an issue.
Meteor, unfortunately, did not get his smite off to kill off that blue buff. However, he does have no danger on him whatsoever. Now has his chilling smite available to him, while the challenging smite is available. Oh, explosive cast using the bot side. They've caught out the Xayah. Beautiful play there from Mark. He gets the kill, and he deserves it.
And that's beautiful for Mark, as he said, but not expected. Because honestly, Mark has been pretty lackluster for me when it looks at the supports. He's been kind of shy, doesn't really want to go for these engages, and especially in lane, he hasn't really made these big plays. On the Gragas though, he knew exactly what he was capable of. Walks up, level 6 gets hit. Here, drinks on me, Rat. Welcome back to the LPL. Easy pick up there for the BLG bot side. And now though, with all that pressure down the bot side, they weren't able to try and make anything happen up top side, so eStar are able to get this Rift Tower for themselves. I imagine this is going to be used mid once again. You can use it to create a little bit of pressure here when that dragon spawns in a minute and a half, but also just trying to, as you can see, get this same keep Zika in check rolling. If you can push in through this mid lane, get that mid lane turret down, the longer lane for Zika makes it a lot more difficult for him to find these destiny opportunities.
I feel like that was perhaps Rat not having much experience against a Gragas supporter, the difference in ranges and stuff. Because again, Shousey walked into the bush, they knew he was there, just maybe didn't quite understand how far that explosive cast can go. But nonetheless, fantastic kill going over to BLG. Does give them more and more an advantage in the spot side, which is just growing and growing by the minute. And they need to be very, very careful that aiming doesn't become that monster that we saw him in LCK.
And honestly, this is why I'm surprised to see Rat go for the likes of the Xayah. I mean, you've got an Aiming who's doing incredibly well into this matchup. Misfortune does very well against the Xayah and is pretty meta at the moment as well. With that, you can go towards the Gale Force, as we said. So I'm surprised that they haven't opted into that, instead going for the Xayah, who is already behind. Like, she's not farming well. Now there's a kill going across, and she takes a lot more time to come online. And it's not like Kai'Sa just falls off late game. Kai'Sa's still really damn good after 2 items. So this is where I think you're in a little bit of a tough spot here as eStar, that it's not working out for you bot lane, it's not working out for you top side, and although you have some leads in the mid lane, they're not going to be enough to carry you into that late game. BLG are still the ones that are in control, and if they can try and snowball through this bot side, open up this map early, get Zeke into a side lane, they can control the likes of these dragons, as you can see, and take that as their win condition towards that 23 to 25 number.
Oh, BLG taking themselves an Ocean Drake while the Rift Tower was on top side. You did see Irma move up towards the jungle on the top side as well, so they were very much aware that there was a dive ensuing, so just give up the tower, give up the gold, take the dragon, get yourself reset, and get your Kennen back on the board. So overall, just a handshake, no one really gonna go too crazy. They're very aware of where everyone is.
Yeah, so on eStar's side, they're pretty much all in on this mid jungle because Hacker is farming exceptionally well. He's got the level advantage over Meteor, and he's been able to pick up a lot of gold for himself off this Rift Herald. So when you look towards Irma and Hacker, these are going to be the two when we get towards these later team fights that need to be the big carries. With, as you can see, Gale Force already completed for Hacker. Like, he's in a really good spot right now.
Mark felt like he had an opportunity there with the explosive cast. Just got caught on the turret though, so not able to fully make that one work out. And Rat does keep himself alive. Has just got flash coming up. Look, just to delay Meteor's back coming in. They drop themselves down a pink ward, and again, just kind of trading pressure here. 3v3 bot side, but without the explosive cast, I don't really see BLG going for something, and knowing that Shousey and Hacker are here, they're not really looking to try and let themselves get hooked. As I say that though, Mark gets himself hooked and gets himself flashed away.
Yeah, he's able to get out of there. A nice call here from eStar to realize that just from item disparity, they would have been able to take this fight on bot side, especially with Hacker, who, as we said, just completed that Gale Force. Big spike coming through for the Graves, but not quite able to follow up as Mark will belly bop his way out of that. Now, although we're kind of looking at no man's land here for ZS in the top lane, you can see Bubu was playing this really smart, he was holding that wave back towards his turret for a little bit of time, and it's kind of leaving ZS in this position of like, what the hell do I do? Like, I've got nowhere to go here. It's not like I can overextend, especially as Meteor is going to be pathing towards the top side of the map. So as ZS in this long lane, you're actually in a little bit of a worse spot if Bubu wants to freeze this towards the tower.
See how they all go. We can see a couple of items being picked up. The Hextech Rocket Belt. I always think Proto Belt straight away, but it's the Rocket Belt being picked up by both.
It's such an
Kennen
unnecessary
and
change.
It is.
So
It is. It's like the Ludens.
Why not just
it's like
keep the Proto Belt? Yeah. It's like, here, I know this. Like, just leave it. It's steel cap boots as well. It's just like Ninja Tabby. Just leave this. I
feel like I've hit a nerve. I feel like I've hit a nerve with you here. Like, it's just like
so
you just went, you know what? Yeah.
There's so much to learn. And then there's just unnecessary crap that they've added in. And it's just like,
you know what? Nothing's changed, but we decided to be awkward.
Yeah. Like, playing steel caps, I can kind of get, all right? Because I understand they were Ninja Tabi because they had the dodge, all right? That part I understand. But why? Why do you have to change like things like Luden's Tempest and like some of these other ones? I'm just like, there's no
Leandri's
point.
Anguish.
Yeah, just every.
It's like they just they put Torment to the Thesaurus and just went, oh, Anguish, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. What's a synonym of pain?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Exactly. For more dots.
I bet they're great at Scrabble.
Oh yeah, like the best. We can see now Hacker with that Gale Force able to kind of aggress onto aiming, forcing out his heal. He is ticking down, and that is the damage, the power you get with the challenging smite and the Gale Force. You can see why this is seen as the meta item right now. Just 1v1 them and nothing he can do.
Yeah, there's a couple of different builds that you can go with the Graves. I mean, we've seen I can't remember, it's an anime one, maybe you can help me out, whatever the term is, but it's basically a Bloodthirster and Immortal Shield Bow, where you're just a super tank, you get a bunch of armor in these fights, you're healing for so much it's impossible to kill you. This is the damage burst oriented Graves, and I love it because Gale Force has that execute on it. So you deal a whole heap of burst damage, and then you just pop the Gale Force, you kill them off, or even as you can see there, using it as a gap closer so you can get your shots off, you already get some damage, and then you can use your E as an auto attack reset.
That was a frame perfect cleanse, but it does not matter for Irma. He will fall nonetheless. He actually cleansed the stun and the exhaust in one swift blow, but it ends up being a quick pick for the side of BLG and the equal backup. The kills only about 200 or 300 gold behind, and honestly, for eSports, I'm feeling pretty good about this. You're kind of going toe to toe, and you're not falling a million miles behind.
The problem is though, Irma's just died mid. Dragon is up in 30 seconds. BLG have can get full control over this river area. Still, few pings hovering around the place for eStar. So with that play now, BLG should be able to secure, hopefully, their third dragon, or at least draw some attention elsewhere. So if Twisted Fate wants to move towards top, start to chip away at that tower, they've got options here now that both Hacker and Irma are only coming out of base.
As well as that, you're looking at a High Noon Quiver versus a completed Kraken Slayer in aiming versus Rat. So the damage just really isn't there from the AD carries, and that is significant when most of your team are only sitting on those single items. You know, the Gore Drinker for the Yola. Yes, you have the Gale Force on the Graves, but if he gets caught out, he's kind of screwed on that particular push. So there's not a huge amount of damage coming out from Rat. It's going to be a lot of emphasis on Irma and Hacker to do the DPS in this fight.
This is where I'd like to see Hook. Shousey tries to make it work, but isn't quite able to. I would like to see the movement from BLG like this, where you start to play heavily towards this bot side, try to keep pressure. You can have Zika just continue to wave clear mid. He's got the destiny to try and port in, and you want Bubu mid because he can find these big flanks.
Yeah, Bubu is on the flank. There is the explosive cast. Only lands onto ZS, though, and he doesn't really do much with it. They flash it on top of the Graves, who gets the steal. That is a 100% stolen dragon for eStars, and they get the kill on the jungler. Bubu can't get in on top of this fight. They're perfectly set up, but now he's stunned up, and that's a double kill for the Xayah. Oh, disaster for BLG, but elation for eStars. They get everything.
And they can get the Rift Herald here as well. Keep some people mid, get this tower, grab everything. The objectives all go in favor of eStar. And this was the big thing that I wanted to point out at the start of the show was BLG. The players on this roster can struggle when it looks towards engages. Marks whiffs that cast, gets the follow-up, but they aren't able to burst out Graves. And from that point forward, Bubu's running from the hills. Destiny from Zika isn't looking great either. And eStar pick up everything there. And this is something that BLG really need to nail down if this roster is going to win.
I was hyping up Meteor, and I'll put my hands up. He has not been performing with these smites whatsoever. We can have a look at the replay coming in here. This Hacker just goes in solo, and no one really deals with him.
I mean, that's the thing, is like, Amin has got to run for the hills thanks to that Orin ultimate. Zika's come in on one flank, but he's been zoned by Chelsea. BuBu isn't able to get in either in the manner that he wanted to. Had the ghost, not the flash, so it's not as easy as flashing in to set up these fights and then providing a killer instinct opportunity for aiming. So the whole clockwork of cogs that BLG were trying to get moving in that fight all fall apart, and eStar take advantage. So BLG, like, this is where they need to really figure out how they actually want to play this composition, because Mark just whiffing on that ultimate really was the start of the downfall there for BLG.
The 2 kills going over to Rat as well. The one kind of, oh, well, you know, the Xayah's super far behind. It's not that big of a deal, but overall end up working out very, very nicely, and he's now back into this game. Xayah now on a first item and a half, going to be moving towards that second item, and you can see now Rat now being the focus. They have got the Destiny, they use the Killer Instinct as well, but they can't finish it off, and this is starting to look a bit rocky from the side of BLG. They're making a couple of desperate plays already.
And this is really surprising, because the thing about BLG, at least back in spring, when they were looking good and they were looking clean, was their macro was impeccable. Like, if they... Oh, hang on.
See? Nope. Don't think they're going to be able to get anything. Everyone should be backing away. As I said, Hacker fancies himself a little bit of a 1v1 versus Mark. And in fairness, as we said, he's the very high DPS Graves and gets about 90% of his health off.
And you've got inside track here as eStar. Go towards this turret in the mid so you can get a lot off, but it looks like instead they just want to back off. They don't have any wards to put down in the jungle, which would have been fantastic if eStar could have got full control of that topside jungle, but fortunately not going to be the case. Either way, coming back to my point was BLG have been so clean when it comes towards those macro-oriented plays in the past. But it looks like right now, shot calling's really faltering. You can see Zika burning that Destiny to try and make a play on towards mid when there wasn't really anything happening. And overall, BLG need to try and figure out, like, okay, let's get Zika off into this side lane. He'll have a decent time where he can push out. We've still got the TP here. We want BuBu to be doing the same. Our job as Meteor, Zeke, and Aiming is to get vision, get these deep wards so then we can have these TP flanks from BuBu, the same from Zeke if he doesn't have the Destiny available. Especially towards this Dragon now that's in a minute and a half. They need to be the ones that moving in now, getting the vision control, getting that quick reset then at the 50-second mark so they can start to control River and make sure that what happened in that last Dragon fight isn't a repeat.
And eStar's got to be careful because they have downloaded Meteor right now and they are just constantly able to kind of get ahead of him. And again, he is called Hacker. He told us from the start, so it works out for them. And I feel like these smites, like Meteor in the past as well, has been one of those people that if he starts missing smites, he doesn't really gain them back for a little while, especially not in this game.
The problem is, I mean, Meteor hasn't been wholly focused on the selfish form of jungling, like, I'm just going to farm and farm and farm. Instead, he's been giving that time towards objectives, which means he's 2 levels behind. These smites aren't a 50-50 right now.
Yeah, we talked about this, privately when we were, setting up for today's games. Is that this is kind of down to how the jungle camps work, and if you just hard farm, and actually, as I say that, they are going to try and just catch out Rat. Does have a beautiful blade call though, and gets everybody stunned up. He will eventually fall. Do they have enough damage though to put Mark out of his misery? Yes, they do. Another hook goes down onto BuBu, who gets deleted as well. What looked like a BLG play ends up going in favor of eStar.
And a beautiful play from Rat to set that all up. He does give his life for it. He did get caught out, but it was for a valiant cause because eStar from that turn it all back around, and you can see they still get to set up for Hacker. Huge amount of damage coming out. Gale Force and Collector is perfect 2-item spike for this Graves, and he can run through with the damage setup coming through from the eStar top lane. And Chelsea again. This is the creme de la creme of Chelsea champions. If he gets Thresh, he's going to look damn good on it. And you can see it already. The hooks are so clean. The follow-up here is fantastic. Rat gets engaged on. Doesn't quite get to the Lantern. But this flash there sets everything up. Zika already taking the half health. BuBu not in a position to follow up here. Aiming can't either. Like, this is the big problem with the Kai'Sa here in this situation, is in these big front-to-back team fights where you've got the Ornn and Chelsea's Thresh, where they're kind of playing the bouncers of these fights. If you don't have something that can give you easy access as the Kai'Sa into the backline, you're not going to have a great time. And right now we're seeing that Aiming isn't confident enough to go for these deep killer instincts, and he's not having a great time.
And that's the thing as well, like Rat right now isn't the priority target, you feel. He will eventually, of course, because he's a Zayat. If he gets to 4 or 5 items, if the game even gets that far, he will just become a monster. But it feels like that, you know, despite him going down, he delayed long enough for the rest of his team to get in position to turn it around. They're now on 2 dragons, 2 infernal dragons as well, so they are stacking those up, extra damage on top of themselves, which is just amazing for a Grave, Syndra, and Xayah composition. It just feels like eStars are just reacting perfectly for BLG, and BLG are kind of jumping the gun just a little bit too hard.
Yeah, and it's a case of what we talked about was... Actually, I'm going to hold on to this point to Chelsea.
Oh, flash hook misses, but they did get the flay down onto Meteor. He might have to use his Ragnarok. Not quite yet, but the Destiny does come in. The Killer Instinct on top of Hacker. He has to flash away. One more auto attack is not enough. There's the Ornn, though, trying to catch out Meteor. They have got Biu, but he's not in the best of position to go for a full engage. They get a couple of summoners. They lose a couple of summoners. Overall, it ends up being a relatively equal trade.
And this is what I talked about beforehand, is I want to see a 1-4 from BLG, where you have Zika off in a side lane, he's the one split pushing, but Biu's with the team. Because as you can see, like, there's an opportunity here for Zika to get picks, but Mark oftentimes isn't in a position, specifically when he doesn't have flash as well. The follow-up potential on Gragas isn't as high, and I'd rather see Biu there to just give another option for, okay, we've got further CC to lock down our target, rather than seeing the gold card go out, not really having the follow-up, and eStar managing to scuttle away before BLG can react.
That's one of the weird things about Syndra that I find it very annoying as someone who plays, if you're playing against the Syndra and you're a jungler and they just like 100% yeet your red buff or your blue buff out and go, no, we can burst this down, no problem, and give it to who we want. It's just a very small little thing that just annoys me, you know?
It does feel very much like the kid who's got caught with the cookie and the mom is just like, nope, and you can see the kid reaching up as the cookie just gets lifted further and further out of the reach. It's like, you're not allowed this, dinner soon. So it's just, does.
But your little brother can have one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's sticking his tongue out. One? Yeah, he's sticking his tongue at you over the corner of your mom's shoulder as well. But look, either way, it is going to go across the rat. BLG now forming in this mid lane. Now they've started to creep into this 1-4, although you need Zika to be off to get that big top lane. But either way, they're using this to get vision control in this river around Baron, trying to see if maybe they can bait some of these squishier members of eStar in towards this objective. Because, I mean, if you look at Chelsea, although he's leading the charge, not exactly the tankiest right now with the Boots of Lucidity, and not even an item.
Oh, no. Oh, Destiny going to be used just to get out. They saw everybody roaming up there. They had to get him out straight away, so that's not going to be available for this next dragon fight. It will be a little bit after it, but you're not going to have it initially, so you're not going to have that full vision scope available to you that you get with the Destiny with the reveals, and that's going to hurt. That's the small little things right there that BLG are kind of letting slip away. Now, they are only about 2,000 gold behind. They have got plenty of ways of coming back into this. Like, as we said, you go in with the Kennen on the good flank. You get the shotgun Kai'Sa with the Killer Instinct. You have ways of winning this fight, but it's hard to lock down people. Double QSS, Zonya's, or sorry, excuse me, stopwatches being picked up as well, and then an Ornn. It's just very difficult to 100-0 someone when they have all these tools to just escape and keep themselves safe.
It feels like BLG and Zika aren't used to playing with this Twisted Fate. Like, Zika traditionally is more of a melee assassin player, and right now they are struggling to make this Twisted Fate pick work. Now they're being forced, because you've got no Destiny, no teleport, to play a front-to-back style team fight, and guess what? eStar just do that better. If you are all grouped here as BLG for this fight, eStar should, in theory, have the better opportunity.
Oh, Biu gets exhausted, but gets away from the initial knock-up. Now they use the Ornhorn. They're trying to just 100% kill him off. Good Zonya's to delay for time as the rest of BLG are here. He flashes away, keeps himself his life. 3 ultimates used, and Biu is still alive. They, however, have lost pressure on this Dragon Pit, and it feels like they might have to just try to go back for it. They are maybe looking for a teleport flank, teleport flank even, but it's going to be a little bit difficult now that the Dragon's gone down. That is triple Infernal available and given over to the side of eStars. They're still looking, they're still pushing for the TP came in, but eStars are out. They got, they wanted, and they're gone. There's nothing here for you, Biu.
And I don't understand why BLG are trying to overcommit there. The teleport ward from Biu is so far from anything eStar trying to do. And you don't even have flashes Pew Pew, so it's not like he's going to have an easy time getting in. So again, eStar get these early dragons, and they're getting all these resources out of BLG. And look, BLG clearly are not comfortable playing this style of composition. I would much rather see for the next game that we go back towards what is traditional Zika. Like, he looked great on the likes of Zoe, but more so he looked great on like the Siluses, the Akalis, these kind of picks that definitely give him more of a playmaking potential. Right now, this Twisted Fate and trying to play, and certainly in more of a team fight scenario, when we're looking at this Twisted Fate where he needs to be more cognizant of map state and pushing waves and how far he can go, it's been very missed so far.
Yeah, I feel very similarly, and the longer this game goes on, actually, the funny thing is you look at Rat's feeling great because Rat's, you know, scaling up. He's gotten to 2.5 items. He shouldn't be too far away from his third, which will give him a huge amount of just absolute shred. And there's no one really that tanky on the side of BLG to be able to kind of sustain. There's no Ornn, there's no Sion, there's just an Olaf as a Gragas, but even then, the Gragas is never really going to have those like kind of huge items. And then the Olaf, when he ults just to try and keep himself from getting CC'd, he loses resistances, so he will also be shredded. It's kind of a hard one to have to see, as we see Xiaoxi going for the box, doesn't really hit the hook, and he's had a good game, but the hooks have been a little lackluster from Xiaoxi, let's be real.
Yeah, I think he's trying to overcompensate for like, oh, they're gonna dodge this way, they're gonna go that way. It's like, no, just toss.
It's the challenger dodge. You don't dodge at all.
But look, I'm not gonna fault Xiaoxi. He's been great, and honestly, I actually really love Xiaoxi's Thresh. I think he plays so aggressive, and it's fantastic to see. And even the ability to play, like, Thresh is not a traditional tank. When you look at, like, say, Alistar, Leona, or even a Nautilus, like, he's a lot squishier than them. So the fact that Xiaoxi's able to play this aggressive, oftentimes make the play happen, but not get punished when it goes awry, is more impressive. But as I say that, Jesus, Xiaoxi, that was close.
Cast a curse, man. Cast a curse.
Didn't get punished, though. Didn't get punished.
Didn't get punished, but Rat has to use his own Featherstorm to try and keep himself alive. TP coming in from the Ornn. Ornhorn blown to try and keep everybody in locked up. Ragnarok popped to stop the Olaf from getting locked up himself. There's the ult engage, and Kennen unfortunately gets the lead, but the health bars are so low. The stopwatches that we mentioned 3 or 4 minutes ago come into play for eStar. The massive scatter the week is huge across the entire team of BLG, and Erma pushes everybody away. There is no real objective to take. They have got pings on top of Baron, but you are so close to death, Chelsea. You need to leave. And overall, it is still eStar that get a kill and lose nothing.
I thought that fight was about to go very differently. With that stun that came through, I thought maybe we'd get eStar able to aggress forward, but with no real tank left in the team, with the health bar so low, they decide to back away. But again, Penguin, it's exactly what you talked about. They keep going for these plays onto Rat, who is easily able to dodge that with the feather call. He hops up into the air and says, thank you, all peace out. And from that point forward, like, this is a great engage from Pew Pew, but it's so close to the tower. He doesn't have a stopwatch. He's not able to keep himself safe in time. And then eStar are able to turn that fight back around. Now we've got Infernal Soul on the cards for eStars in a minute. They control the dragon area, and it's very difficult as BLG to try and get control here, because you're moving through these close jungle paths, and it's very easy to send an Ornhorn that way for Xiaoxi to get the box set up. You can't get as many flanks as you would like when you've got this complete control of river that eStars have.
Look at Rat's items and his summoners. He's got his flash, he's got his heal, he's got a Quicksilver Sash, and he's got a stopwatch. And his ultimate. How are you going to kill this guy? Like, this guy is going to be invulnerable for so damn long. And you don't have your flash engaged from Mark. You don't have a flash or heal on aiming, so you can't even keep him that safe. And as I say that, the Ornhorn is used. Mark goes up, and with nowhere to go, he is down and dead. This just feels like BLG, they overstep, they get punished, and the eStars are there to just absolutely capitalize.
And this is really strong from eStar. Like, we've been kind of going, hey, look, BLG can't do this, they can't do that, but eStar are looking good. They're understanding how to play this composition, how to bait BLG into positions that they don't want to be in. Now, though, BLG trying to sneak a Baron, but you can't do that on Xiaoxi's watch.
Honestly, I kind of like this play from BLG. It's literally going, right, you get Infernal Soul, we will take the Baron. And they're just kind of delaying for Mark to come back up. The Infernal Soul has just spawned right now. They're going to send Rat to be the ones to deal with that and take it. But now with everyone else up on this top side, Ragnarok has to be popped to keep him alive. They just lose everywhere. They're losing everywhere on the map. BLG is there. He might be able to take a kill, but nope, everyone's in the mid lane. So Rak gets himself a nice, cheeky Infernal Soul for his team. eStar firmly in the driving seat right now, and it's going to be on BLG to capitalize on some kind of opportunity they're given.
And I don't see how that's the case. You do not have control of the game. You do not have control of the waves, which means that having Zeke in a position where he can threaten a tower or draw members of eStar into a side lane just isn't going to happen. eStar can just go, right, cool. Yeah, you can go and take the tier 2 bot. We'll take Baron, which then gives us automatic push, and we can just drive through your base with a much stronger composition. Because don't forget, eStar are the late scaling team. This is the late scaling team with an Inferno Soul at 35 minutes into the game. They're good. They can take a fight against BLG whenever the hell they want, and there's very little that BLG can do about it.
We talked about this in so many different podcasts, so many different shows, but the difference between 13th and possibly even 4th, I'd say, in the LPL is interchangeable. There could, I actually made the call that there could be one series that separates 13th or even, 13th from like 4th, basically. I was like, look, you could go, if you win one more extra series, you could be in playoffs. If you don't, you're not. That's the difference this could make. And we're seeing it here. eStar, as a lot of people kind of writ them off, and I did as well. Hold my hands up high for that. But this team is working just a lot better in tandem with their own pieces, rather than BLG, who individually have a lot of small little, great pieces. Great, on paper, great jungler, aiming a very good ADC. Zika is not the worst mid laner in the world. Mark went to Worlds. Yes, he had issues with certain, engage and stuff, but still went to Worlds. But it's just not coming together, and this is the problem, and this is the worry we had coming into the series of would these pieces fit, would they work and form a full picture? And it doesn't look like it right now.
And this is what makes the LPL so exciting, but eStar trying to catch BLG.
Ooh, then they will catch him. Flash to get the flay off. Hook goes wide, but he's got no more Zhonya's left. Rat with his QSS keeping himself alive. They flash in on top of Meteor. Theirs is just all eStars all the time. BLG just haven't... Every time BLG try to even sniff at something, eStars say no, and they immediately shut it down.
And now they can just turn back over towards this Baron area. Now, a lot of ultimates used on the side of eStar, but still, with how tanky ZS is, they can just look to take back control here if BLG try to test. But maybe Meteor with the Miracle Steal, but he's not even going to get the chance.
No, it doesn't have Flash. Meteor, without that Flash available to him, is just not able to kind of go for it. And this is a slow burner of a game, to say the least, but it is eStars in control. It doesn't feel like eStars are, kind of capitalizing, or, waiting for the right moment or anything like that. It just feels like they're just taking it slow and steady, crossing their T's, dotting their I's.
I feel this is a bit unfair calling this a fight. Like, fight scrawled across my screen. This isn't a fight. This is just bullying right now. BLG gets taken out. Look, he didn't even get an auto attack back. Like, it's just a stop hitting yourself situation. But I do want to come back to a point that you're making of, like, look, the depth of talent that we have in the LPL this year. This is why eStar are able to come out and look so clean against BLG. It's why neither Top Esports or JDG were able to pick up a victory in their first round of games. This year, LPL 2021 has taken a massive step up when it comes to talent, when it comes to how close these teams are. That's what keeps this so exciting.
Oh, they're trying, and I you know what? God loves a trier. You got to give it to them, but it's just not really working out. And with the Baron buff being pushed into that top side, they can go for inhibitor. Honestly, they could go for the end if they really wanted to. If TF does not go back straight away, they're going to be able to open up the base for the first time this game. 37 minutes in. God, it feels like an eternity. Are we watching LCK? Did we get the wrong broadcast? But overall, eStar is still trying to push in. They're just trying to, as you said, take it as slowly as possible. With Xiaoxi looking so damn good on this thresh, it's very, very difficult for them to put a foot wrong.
Oh, that's a cast, though.
As I say that is a cast, but the cannon is denied immediately. Mark got a semi-decent engage, but the cannon was denied straight away. Absolutely no follow-up there, and that means you are without a top laner for the next 45 seconds.
Yeah, and look, ZS, he's TPing back into mid. He's collecting the wave. They want to make sure they can crack open this base nice and easy. And look, that engage would have been fantastic if maybe we were 10 minutes before this. If maybe we found that opportunity prior, but unfortunately, that's not the case. BLG, they've been bleeding money for so long. A 5,000 gold lead for eStar, and they're going to crack open the space once again.
Yep, again, just going through the motions, trying to keep it as textbook as possible. Don't leave anything up to chance. You have an opportunity to take this first game, to get your momentum rolling in this 2021 Spring Split. Don't want to throw it away right now, because there is a world, there always is, a world where BLG find that good engage. They find the cannon flank and melt health bars, and there's nothing that eStars can do about it. But it's a very, very, very small chance.
Look, I mean, BLG have a very slim opportunity. If, by some miracle, they can find a fight like this, but also having just stolen the Elder Dragon that's about to spawn in 40 seconds. Maybe BLG can find a comeback here. But the margins are slim to none, and I wouldn't hold my breath if I'm a BLG fan.
I gotta say, I'm so impressed with Irma on the Syndra this game, because he has been on point with these Scatter of the Weeks to completely deny BuBu and getting inside on this cannon. It's been an absolute joy to watch. You can see BuBu trying to set himself up again here as Hacker walks up to try and establish some kind of vision control. They have found themselves ZS, but he's not really able to do much there. The Destiny has been popped as well, so that's 2 ultimates down for the side of BLG. They haven't used any on the side of eStar. Now the Elder Drake has been spawned. The super minions, they are now going to start. All you have to do is delay if you're eStars. The super minions will do your job for you. This is very much the ticking clock for BLG. They have to make something happen. Flash is available for BuBu, and you can see him trying to get behind the Dragon Pit, but they just don't want to get caught out by Irma's Syndra. He's perfectly positioned on top of that ramp to keep them all away. Needs to be so careful. They're going to go in, but nothing for you, Ken and BuBu. You will die. So will the Olaf. This is almost certainly the game. You're 3v5. The minions are laying siege to your base. It's just a death by 1,000 cuts here for BLG as they're just trying to survive. But everything's going in favor of eStar, and they're going to be able to clean up all of these kills. No problem whatsoever. Shouty will die in the end as aiming is on the Kai'Sa. Zika being forced back all the way into the enemy jungle. But look at the base. Look at the minimap. It's a sea of blue. There's nothing they can do, and they're just losing towers, and nobody's in the base. The game is over. This is it. They don't even... They're the Winions. Winions are going to do it.
Slash dance. That's all you got to do here is walk into the place, hit that slash dance, and... But look, they will finish this off. Zika here just to watch his base go to towers.
That was a slow, emphasis on slow, but methodical win from eStars. They felt in control. They didn't let anything from the side of BLG scare them. And honestly, a good win from them to start off this split.
Yeah, and again, you can see the game plan coming through from eStar, where it is about unlocking Shouty from that bottom lane,